Twilight. It's the time of day when the sun sets, but not quite. Just barely showing over the horizon. It's one of my favorite parts of the day. And on this Twilight journey, come join me as we explore the Twilight cards of 3 legendary baseball players. Welcome back to the Cincinnati Kids Card Channel, where the vintage roams free and the modern is a carefully protected, endangered species. Leaves are bursting into the autumn finale of color. Mine are starting to fall. How about yours? Baseball is over. The boys of summer have given way to football, hockey, and basketball. Some baseballers, like Clayton Kershaw, have walked off into the twilight on their own accord after a long career. Tonight, we look at 3 vintage baseball players that made it and earned that walk-off into the twilight. I will share some Twilight cards of Carl Yastrzemski, Juan Marichal, and Sandy Koufax. The Yaz had a ton of great cards, but these 3 bring out the most nostalgia of my early collecting days. See, I once probably had 6 or 7 1981 Topps or 1981 Donruss cards of Carl. Never did I draw a Pete Rose or a Johnny Bench from my sugar-laced, high-inducing, sugar stick with dipping crystal sugar grain packets that were included with all the Topps and Donruss cards that I would buy from the concessions after my Little League games. Who was this Carl Yastrzemski guy anyway? Emphasis my own. He sure doesn't look like he's having any fun. And I could relate. Baseball wasn't exactly fun for me. At the time, I enjoyed playing tennis way more. But for grins, I didn't understand who this Yaz guy was. He looked old, and geez, he's giving batting practice in this 83 Topps card. Is he a coach or is he a player? I didn't really watch much sports in 1981, 82, or 83, so I had no idea that he was a living legend, one of the greatest to play the game. Clearly, Yaz always gave it his all, as the 42-year-old shows here in this 82 Donruss card, laying down a bunt. Next, we have perhaps the greatest pitcher of the 1960s, the dapper Dominican himself, Juan Marichal, or as the back of his 1974 Topps base card gives his full name as, Juan Antonio Marichal Sanchez. I guess it was easier for announcers just to say Juan Marichal. Some players just have a glow about them, and in most of his cards, Juan is busting a toothy grin, or he is at least starting to. Not so much in his Twilight cards. Pitching in just 1 postseason as a Giant, he, unlike the Yaz, wouldn't play his entire career at San Francisco. No, he would be traded to the Bo Sox on December 7th, 1973. Another day of infamy, if you will pardon my borrowing of FDR's eloquent description of the December 7th, 1941 attack on Pearl Harbor. A day that lived in infamy. Juan would pitch the final season of his career with the likes of Bill Spaceman Lee, Dick Drago, and Louis Tiant. The back of his card says, Marichal makes Bo Sox wonderful. Well, not really. Juan's mighty rubber arm wasn't so wonderful anymore. The rubber had become brittle, but he still had that amazing high leg kick. I wonder if Juan and the Yaz ever talked as teammates. I've always had a dream, if I could go back in time to watch a baseball game, it would be 1 up against Sandy Koufax. Both would face the minimum batters until the 14th inning, when due to a rainstorm, the game is called, only to be resumed the next day by other pitchers. Well, they both faced off on an ill-fated day when one and Johnny Roseboro, the Dodgers catcher at the time, would get into a horrible fight. I'm glad I did not get to witness it. For more on that game and the fight, check out Baseball Time Traveler Rob's excellent episode on it. Here we see the last card with Sandy Koufax on it from his playing days in this 1967 Topps NL Leaders card. Unfortunately for Sandy, he would bow out after losing to the Orioles in the World Series of 1966 when he was outdueled by rookie Jim Palmer. This 1966 base card here, this particular one, is one of my most treasured vintage cards. It was my first Koufax Playing Days base card, and only one for many, many years. I'll never upgrade or replace it, like I had to replace my 81 Carl Yastrzemski, because I lost my original I had pulled back in the spring of 1981. Fortunately, I still have this self-box pulled 1980 Yaz Kellogg's. But back to Sandy's 66 Topps. His arm troubles were starting to get the better of him. And instead of possibly not being able to use his arm normally in later life, he decided to retire early. When I study Sandy's last base card, I see a proud warrior. It appears here that it might be just before he's taking the mound, sometime in that final season, while the 67 Leaders card image of him in the bottom left corner looks like he's ready to leave it. His arm pain clearly on his face. Whereas on the base card, the pain is betrayed just in his eyes. Sad eyes, tired eyes. Eyes, though, still with a little bit of twinkle, basking in the twilight as he leaves the diamond, never to return. Thank you for watching, everyone, and be safe at home.